Good evening.
Evening, Mia. How you doing?
Hey, Fred, how are you?
I'm good, Kamala.
Good, good, good.
Here. Robertson. Yeah, Jesus. I know she said she wasn't going to make it. Oh, there's excuse for this evening. Greenberg, how we doing, sir?
Hey, Fred. How are you?
Can't complain. Can't complain.
Good.
It's a year end, so it's like the days,
So it's
everything
just two
gets
of
shorter,
us.
but the same amount of work.
Wow, it's like springtime out there again.
And I thought I saw Miss Fleming pop on as well. I'll call the formal roll, but I'm just trying to see who I have up here.
Sure.
Come in.
Good evening. How you doing?
Hello.
Good over here. Good over here. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm gonna mute my stuff here. Okay, we turn power off. Okay, now all is well.
Good, 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 good. Oh, Mia, just as a note, on the documentation, I think we have Mr. Belcati as Tom. It should be Ted, I believe.
Okay, sure thing. I'll update it.
Hey, Mia.
Unless he wants to be called Tom, you know.
Hey, Mr. Greenberg, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Can't complain. Enjoying the holiday
Boy,
season.
nobody
so
is complaining today.
It's a miracle.
Give it time.
Right. Still a few hours left in the day.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be the first one. That's all, you know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh.
I'll just add myself to the queue when we start.
You're watching your timing.
That's it. Yeah, you know.
I think Cal is away.
Yes, she did say.
But I
yes.
think
I'll
Paco's
send you
going
off
to be
the note.
there. Yeah.
But we did get that, so we're going to note her excuse for the evening.
Great.
Oh, hold on. Okay, and that's the other thing. And also, Mia, hopefully he shows up. Jeff Granum. Make sure we also add him add him to the roster.
Oh, yes, got him. Okay, dokie.
Good evening, Mrs. Robertson. I see you there.
Hello, sir. Hello, Chairman Fred. Mr. Baptiste.
How you doing?
Pretty
and
good.
please note for the record, we've been Zoom bombed by Ethan. Ethan is here, Zoom bomb.
Yes. Yes. We
Good
need
evening.
help.
Yeah.
Yes.
How's it going, Ethan?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Can't complain. No, actually, my official status, I'll complain later. I just didn't want to be the first,
Okay.
And I see Mr. Abraham. We'll give it just a couple more minutes and then we'll get started.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Joe.
Adam, how you doing, sir?
Good.
Hi, Jess.
Hey, Felice, how are you?
Pretty good. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays to you
Thank
too.
you.
Happy
To
holidays.
everyone on the line.
Wow.
All right, we'll give it about another minute because I think there's only about two. Let me see. Cal is not coming this evening. So Mr. Balberg and then Pearson are going to. So give them about another minute or so and then we'll be able to start. The time is now 7:08. I don't want to go too much later. I want to thank everyone for joining. Anyone else who joins in, we'll be able to catch them up as they come in. All right, so Mia, we're recording. Perfect. Okay, we're calling the meeting to order now at 7:08 p.m. on December 7th, 2022. We are convening the meeting for the Transportation Committee for the month of December 2022, the last one for this year. I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. Very briefly, for the record, I'm just going to call the roll. Stuart Balberg, I do not see him. Mr. Balberg, are you here? Okay, Yakov Pearson. Ted Pilcotti, I have you here.
He's
Ted,
muted.
are you still here? Okay. Felice, I see you here. You still here? Okay.
It takes a while for
Yeah,
me to register it, so pardon me, it's a slight delay. I'm here.
No worries. No worries. All right, got you, Felice. Paco, I see you here as well.
Yep, right here.
Perfect. Callista is excused. She sent her regrets. She has a conflict this evening. Ms. Fleming, heard you earlier.
I'm present, yes.
Okay. Mr. Greenberg, I saw you earlier as well.
I'm here.
And Mr. Granum, I see you as well.
I'm here, present.
So with that, we have a quorum. All All right, the minutes should have been sent out, the minutes were sent out with the meeting agenda as well. Have the members had an opportunity to review the minutes? Are there any corrections that need to be made? We've already made a couple of notes.
Paco, you made some
no, go ahead.
corrections, right?
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure if under the, I'm trying to pull it up right now, but I don't think it's specified in the minutes. One of the ideas when one of the members of the community under new business request for speed reducers on Lefferts between Washington and Bedford as part of that conversation. I know I had emailed you, Fred, and the CB and Dante as well, but we also had discussed just if speed reducers couldn't happen, or as an interim step, we had said also maybe just painting whatever necessary lines while they're to match the rest of Lefferts as a quick thing. That was we didn't make a motion on that, but it was part of that discussion.
I do believe it is there. It should be under new business A. I think it's the fourth bullet. Request for speed reducers on Lefferts between Washington and Bedford.
Oh, okay.
Fred,
When I just read that,
when-
I took that as speed humps, which I know was that was what the people, Eva and someone else, people from that live on Lefferts had asked for that specifically, and I was saying broaden your horizons of other traffic calming things. The speeding is the issue. Don't just ask for one thing. So I said maybe marking the lines as well helps a little bit.
No, absolutely.
but-
So we do have that as a note, and you're foreshadowing a little bit of the conversation coming up as well. But thank you for that. So I will make sure that's
Excuse me.
Mr. Graham. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. When were the minutes sent?
It should have been included. That might be one
With
of the
the
issues.
agenda.
Did you get a copy? Did you get a copy of the agenda and the Zoom?
I saw the Zoom link in a blast. It wasn't something, it was like in the general blast. Went out on,
Yeah.
What date is this?
Probably last week, Friday then.
It looks like Friday, yes.
Right. So that's one of the notes that I have is for some reason we still don't have you on as a member of the committee. So that's why you weren't on the distribution. We're going to make sure we add you on there so you're as a member of the committee. So you'll get that communication. So yeah,
Right.
so you will be added as part of that. That's one of the notes we're going to be making as well. Where sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Granum, actually, you should check your spam. I have you listed.
Okay.
The jgs@aol.com. You should have received a reminder message at 8:07 a.m. this morning with the agenda. So
Let me-
check around that
Okay,
time.
let me
All
see.
right. And I'll check in with you if you don't find it, just to make sure
Okay.
we're not going to your spam.
I stand
may I
corrected. Mia's on
just-
top of the game.
Yes, she is. But I thought I had mentioned in the last meeting about having some sort of the camera that was by Sullivan, that it would be brought up to Montgomery, some sort of protection on Montgomery and Washington. I don't think I see anything that indicates that in this minutes.
In the minutes, I see a bullet that says Washington and Montgomery crosswalk needs a caution light. Is that what it was, or is it just an additional point? Was that part of that point, or was it something separate? Are you still there?
I am, I'm sorry, it's this phone. Yes, it is that point. You're correct. You're correct, sir. That
Okay.
is it.
Then I just wanted to make sure. Okay, was there anything else that's missing that needs to be added? Okay, so unless there are any other, hearing no other issues besides that, so the minutes stand as adopted with those notations made? Any objection?
So moved. Second.
Well, we don't even need to, unless somebody has an objection, we're just gonna say by common consent, you may say the minutes are okay with those
Right.
corrections. Okay, good. All right, so we are now going to go on to the next item on the agenda. Well, first of all, let me just finish the greetings in terms of, thanks so much for everyone for all the work that you've done. This is the last meeting for 2022. Definitely have a lot on the plate with respect to the committee. A lot of things we have in motion. There's just definitely a lot of motion in terms of transportation period happening in the city. A number of those things that we will be discussing as we go on in the meeting. And I didn't have a chance to formally greet you as chair because I know that there was a vacancy in the chair. I have taken on transportation, so I will be directly responsible for serving as chair, at least in the interim. So you're stuck with me for now. You're stuck with me for a little bit, but I mean, again, I think that I'm very happy working with this group. I've known a lot of you for a good while. Always had nothing but respect for the work you do. And I think that there's just so much more we're going to be able to accomplish. I'm looking forward to that. My apologies for last month. I had really wanted to at least be able to greet you for, for that first meeting as serving as chair. Unfortunately, I had a conflict where I was not in town, so I wasn't able to do it. But definitely I'm making sure that's part of my calendar, part of my schedule, and I'll be here and, working with you and taking those things. I do want to apologize in advance. I know there have been a number of communications sent from members of the Transportation Committee. It's just been a very hectic last, between being out of town and then catching up those last couple of weeks are just a little bit difficult. But I do see the emails. I apologize for not responding sooner. I have been having conversations with the district manager as well, and some of those points that we'll also discuss as we get a little bit deeper into the agenda. But with that, so we are now actually going to go on into the second item. We have the committee updates. We do have a number of points on there. So let's start with this. Mia, do you have any updates that you would like to share with the committee in terms of transportation or anything feedback you heard back from DOT?
I know that Dante has been in conversation with Diana Soriano just in terms of going through the role of the numerous work order numbers, everything varying from Valerie, your inquiry regarding the bike racks at Major Owens, the numerous speed humps, and other assessments within the district, including lighting and ponding of the such. So it's an ongoing conversation, and she has not provided a comprehensive list of answers. So it's still pretty much in process. What we have gone on to create is an Excel sheet going back with trying to find original work order numbers instead of the new duplicates that we've obtained from constituents that came and originated out of the board office so that they can actually be tracked back just to see how long the ask has been in and when it originated from CB9. Yeah, so that's where we are with it. We have not received a comprehensive list of answers at all.
Okay,
but the conversation is ongoing with Ms. Soriano to obtain such.
Okay. And just to add on a little bit, just in terms of some of the conversations I've had with Dante. So that work is definitely going. We've had separately conversations with the borough commissioner. So they definitely understand that there are a number of these things that have been outstanding for too long. So the commitment has been made in terms of, I think they're going to try and get answers for those speed humps. I believe they had said they're trying to get it done by the end of the year. And I don't want to misrepresent. I believe, but they are working on those in terms of getting responses for those outstanding speed hump requests. So that is something that they are actively working on. I know Councilmember Joseph's office has reached out on behalf of the district as well. So they are definitely working on that. I believe we have gotten some responses back for some of them, not necessarily what we want to hear in terms of that as well, especially as long as these things have been out. But we're getting movement on those. And I do want to talk about that a little bit when we get to some of the other items a little bit lower down. As Mia had said, so the request was put out directly to DOT with respect to bike racks in a couple of locations. So one of the responses we did receive was they have it. They have the request and they're going to try and process. The only challenge right now is inventory, where the city doesn't have the bike racks at this point. So I think the expectation is early 23 at some point. They expect to get some inventory replenished. At that point, they'll hopefully be able to start filling in some of those requests. But we're definitely making movement on that, or at least that's been approached with DOT, and they're supposed to be working on that. And Dante and the district office will be able to provide additional updates as we get them. That Excel spreadsheet, again, I think we want to make sure that we're tracking these requests as well, creating an aging schedule to see how long these things are out, because we don't want them to stand out much longer. And I think it's very important and critical that, you know, that first step that we've taken with Councilmember Joseph's office, and we're going to do that with our other electeds as well, to make sure we're holding DOT accountable for these things. I understand that some of these things are long tail, particularly speed humps tend to be something that take a while because they do have to do the traffic studies. There are certain warrants or there's certain requirements that I think they need to satisfy or check off to say that streets are suitable for those speed humps. But we need to make sure that those are being tracked and that they're not falling off and we're getting timed responses on those. And even the quality of the responses, because my understanding is you just get answers back to say no. And that's not helpful and it really doesn't address anything. But I did want to speak to that a little bit as we go a little bit further. Yeah, so the speed humps, and I believe that it's the same situation with speed cameras as well, where we're trying to get additional information. So I'll leave it at that. So those are the updates from the district office side with whatever notes that I know of. I did see some hands going up. Valerie, I do see you. Paco, did you have a question as well? Okay, so we'll take those.
Well, I don't have a question. Well, I don't know if this is a question or not. This is Val Fleming, but it seems like we've been doing this for a while now, Fred. So even though they don't have the inventory available for the speed humps, where are they in the process of doing the studies to determine whatever it is that needs to happen prior to even installing them? Because even if they get the supply, do we have to wait for the supply to come and then they'll do the study? Or is a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet showing the dates that the study is starting? Because come on, we've been asking for this stuff for a minute now. And, you know, for them to say, oh, what number is this? What number is that? This is their system that we're using. So, you know, we're going by the things that they're telling us that we have to submit, and we submit them and it falls to the wayside. And that's not really a good look, you know. And so I'm just wondering, what is the process? How are we going to learn from our mistakes? We said that they're going to try to have stuff by the end of the year. The end of which year, though? Because there's been so much that's been going on and on. And I just wanted to share that because I really want to see progress. Because many of us have been on this committee far longer than some others. And we really want to have an outcome to show that we're really, really doing something for the community and for the benefit of the people, you know, because even there's this thing that I keep thinking about every time I go on that side of town where they say that the water is flooding on the street and it ponds so bad, and they thought they had a drain and they didn't have a drain, and it cost so much money, but yet and still the people are still suffering. So that's just for my little soapbox today. How can we move forward with a more precise update and to see what they're really doing? Because the end of the year will be here soon. We're going to look around, it's going to be June. And then it's like, oh, what happened? Thank you. Did you get all that, Fred?
No, yes, I was right. But just to make sure, and I apologize if I was conflating two things. The inventory I was speaking of was bike racks, specifically about the bike racks. So, because I think those.
And that's specifically kind of what I'm talking about too, the bike racks, because I've been asking for the bike rack for a year.
Yeah, that one, I'm not sure. The answer was that one is going to be processed. That one is scheduled to be early next year. The only reason why they're not able to do it sooner is because they don't have them physically. So, but those are in order, and from what I understand, they should be here. The speed humps has absolutely been the nightmare in terms of, you know, they've just been terribly slow with that. It's unacceptable. The first step with that has been working with the elected officials, so with the council members' offices. We are getting those lists together and we're trying to get them. I think, you know, and again, I want to be careful in terms of promising because I wasn't there. I'm hearing it secondhand because I spoke to Dante about it. But the understanding is, yeah, they're going to get answers back about those outstanding requests because those are just way too long. So it's going to be yes, no, or whatever they're doing. But those answers should hopefully be coming roughly by the end of the year, early next year, in terms of the ones that are currently outstanding. But there's definitely a conversation we need to have with respect to that, because I think, and I'll talk about that a little bit. I want to reframe the questions we're asked. Because if you ask them for a speed hump, they wait 1 year and then they come back and say, well, we can't put a speed hump. The reason why we're asking for the speed hump, obviously, is because there is a traffic situation that is, you know, that it's not safe. So I'm looking at, and this is a conversation we can have as a committee in terms of reframing it. We're identifying these are the places where you have a traffic issue. I can care less how the sausage gets made. What are you going to put there to fix it? If a speed hump is most appropriate, knock yourself out, get a speed hump. If it's a speed camera, let's see what we need to do. If it's enforcement, whatever the tickets are, but I think we get faster answers if they can tell us right off the bat where it's like, you know what, we can do something that doesn't take as long as waiting in the airport study. And we're going to talk about that just momentarily after we get to that. Yeah, so, but Val, you know, Ms. Fleming, absolutely, I definitely get the frustration, and you know, we're still working on this, and you know, and between Dante and me and the district office team, they're really working on this. And I
I'm
think we're
not
making
so much,
movement in the
excuse
sense.
me, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm not so much
No.
frustrated. I'm kind of disappointed that it's taking so long for the same stuff over and over again, and with no real answer what's going to happen. Because before it was the pandemic. We can't move, we can't do so much because of the pandemic. Okay, well, it looks like we got a triple-demic now, and it's going to be going on for a minute. So now we have to look at how do we reframe our work so that we can look at inventory and supplies and different things like that. But I do appreciate the things that you are doing to ensure, and maybe reframing it is what might be necessary for those speed humps so that they can see the urgency, you know, for life-saving measures.
Felice, I do see you have a question? Oh,
No, I really echo what Valerie is saying. You know, we've been here for almost 10 years. Almost 10 years. That's a long time for no results. And that should speak for itself. And we live here, you know. I know I live here over 30 years, and we can't get anything done. This is ridiculous.
Absolutely. So next month, well, actually, let me get to a couple of these things, and then we'll talk about some of the things we have to schedule for next month. All right. Okay, we're going to go on to item B, the Brooklyn bus redesign. So, and I know the committee tends to be very up on this, so I know I saw the links going out for that. So that project is starting. This is something that had began even before the pandemic, where they were looking at doing a redesign of the bus network, how they change routes, if there's any alterations they need to make, you know, how do they improve service, how do they make the bus service more reliable. So that is a process that has just started. I believe that they actually had one of their first workshops it was yesterday, correct? All right. So yeah, so one, I just wanted to make sure that we had that on our radar. If we could just take a couple of minutes, are there members of the committee who actually were at the workshop yesterday? I just wanted to kind of get a sense in terms of what they were doing, what timeline was like. Is there anybody who was there yesterday?
I wasn't at it yesterday, but I've been working with Assemblyman Brian Cunningham, so I got a few days earlier. I saw some of it, and overall, I think what he said is right. It's been a long time coming, and it's going to be a long time process. I think for anything that comes out, I think people have immediate reactions. Usually, you know, whatever change is happening, people understandably will be scared of, but I think it's important for all of us when representing to to our neighbors, reminding them there are a lot of chances over the next year probably for input, and nothing is finalized from what I could see. I was overall pleased with what I saw. I think there were some good ideas. I think locally the biggest change I saw was a new line called the B10 was going to go Empire Boulevard to East New York Avenue, kind of connecting us to Brownsville a little bit more, and some other changes trying to make better use of the bus only lanes that do exist on Nostrand and Rogers. But again, a lot of things are in works, and I think it's good if the CB as a whole, and just all of us as committee members, can really remind everyone like they want the input, and we should get like whatever you think of the plan, give them your input, so that way when it is finalized, we get a thing that we all can at least say we weighed in on. You know, not everyone will be happy necessarily. Hopefully more people are happy than upset by it, but it's going to be a long process with chances for input.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. Was there anybody else who was able to attend? Any thoughts? Any information that came out of the initial session? Okay. And that's fine. So, but I mean, we're definitely going to make sure that as a board and as a committee, we're staying on top of that as well. So as we get dates and additional outreach, we'll make sure that that's communicated to the committee, and absolutely encourage everyone to attend it as much as possible in terms of we keep an eye on what's going on. Okay, well, thank you for that.
What I
okay,
did
so-
attend, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, please.
What I did attend was the meeting we had with DOT regarding the Grand Army Circle there. And they were talking about changes. What I would like to emphasize, if I could please, and take pictures of, is that corner there by the park, Prospect Park. They had made a extension of a sidewalk with a bell on it. And what I have experienced along with the bus drivers, you know, as a rider, is that the buses would rear out and almost collide with the cars that are on the left side, just to avoid that extended corner. If they don't do so, they will experience flat tires, damages done to the buses, and MTA have been complaining about that for quite some time, asking for that extension to be shortened so that there won't be an accident. And as long as I've been riding the 41 bus now that my job has relocated in Brooklyn, I see the problem. It's very, very clear. You know, they either will hit that corner or they will hit a car, you know, or the car will rear off into the other lane. So something has to be done with that corner there. Can you envision what I'm speaking of?
Yeah, I have a feeling. So you're saying when the bus comes around, when it's turning by Prospect Park, going on to
Right.
Clappers, going south? Yeah.
That's correct.
It's a tough corner. That is a tough corner. And that's the kind of feedback I want to make sure we have. Although technically that's not part of CB9, I definitely want us to make sure that we're keeping track of what's going on with that development. Because yeah, it will affect us in terms of, you know, if there's an alteration of traffic patterns.
Yes.
There was an article that I saw earlier. I'm not sure if it was sent out to the committee, but they talked a little bit about that. I think DOT started getting wind of people were very concerned about the possibility of all of a sudden shutting down car traffic through the
Yes.
plaza, and they made a point of saying, "Oh no, we're not looking specifically at that," which is encouraging, but definitely we need to make sure we stay in that conversation because whatever changes they make to the grid over there will affect us. So we want to make sure that our voices are heard. But it's going to be a long process from what I understand, because I think it's going to be on the order of a year or two. I think they're going to be doing workshops, you know, some additional feedback, and I think that's going to culminate in a study that happens at the end of that. And my understanding is I don't think that study even comes out until 24, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
Which means we have some time, but at the same time, I don't want to wait till the last things, because, you know, what will end up happening is if they put pen to paper and all of a sudden start making plans, that's when it's too late. So we want to make sure we're keeping track, or we'll see where it goes with that, and we're able to make sure that we're represented as a board and as a committee at those.
And may I add one other thing, please? Ephraim is on, who is from the Botanical Garden. We both are trying to get some sort of remedy to prevent an accident or someone getting killed again on the corner of Montgomery and Washington. So we're supporting one another in this effort that we need to do something to, you know, as a preventive, you know, so this is why he's here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're definitely going to get to that portion as well. So Ethan, we're definitely going to make sure we have our conversation shortly as we talk about some of the other issues on the agenda. But definitely for that Grand Army Plaza design, just to end that point, so we just want to make sure we're staying on top of that. And as we get information from, you know, as it's being fed to the office, we're going to make sure we send that out as well to the committee. And we'll keep those dates going as well. All right. Okay, next, B41 corridor. So we had actually reached out to the Department of Transportation because we want to understand what exactly the time frame is. I mean, we were, you know, fortunate to have them come. I can't remember if it was a September, October meeting, but they were able to come. I think that they had said that there were a number of things in the toolkit that, you know, they were looking at, but nothing had been decided yet. And that's critical because we want to make sure we're in early on the process. So this process is definitely starting there are conversations that are happening. We spoke to DOT. DOT, the way the city is doing this is it's not going, the outreach is not necessarily happening specifically through the board. What they've done is they've convened what they call a community advisory board, which includes a number of stakeholders up and down the corridor. So going all the way from downtown Brooklyn, all the way down to all the affected community boards, the elected officials, the council members, the assembly members. There's certain groups that are there as well. I'm not sure if I saw anybody from Prospect Park Alliance, but a number of the merchants associations, conservancy groups, I believe Transportation Alternative, no, I don't think they were there. But what all to say that there are a number of stakeholders that have been included as part of that conversation, or that the intent is to include, and CV9 is one of them. So in the conversation we had with them, so they are going to be looking to do outreach through these partners. One of the things that I do want to do from a CV9 perspective, from a district perspective, is I do want us to convene as a town hall to kind of identify specifically what the issues or challenges are, the things we want addressed. Macro, obviously, along the entire route, but definitely I want a specific focus of when it comes down to Empire Boulevard going to the end of the district at Clarkson. Obviously, there's some spillover because a lot of the issues and challenges are there as well. And I think it's very important that they consider that aspect because definitely when it gets to our district, Flatbush, we lose a lot of real estate. There are points where Flatbush Avenue is a lot wider, but it changes by the time it hits Empire Boulevard. By the time it gets to Lincoln, it really shrinks down. And that's where a lot of things will become problematic in terms of bus lanes. Those are options they're looking at, how it affects parking, how it affects pedestrian safety. How do we speed up traffic, but at the same time keep it safe for pedestrians along the corridor? So those are definitely some of the questions that we're looking at. I want us to start developing some of the priorities for the district, especially along that corridor, between safety, between bus lanes, how do we make the buses move faster, taking into account the merchants along the corridor as well, how do we kind of try and strike as happy a medium as we can with respect to that. So with that being said, I spoke with Dante. We are looking tentatively at doing a town hall, which would probably be towards the end of January. So we're looking at that as an initial date. Working with the district office, we're going to try and finalize that. The intent would be we publicize this, let it go to all our networks. I'm trying to see if we can get DOT to come and do a large, a very similar presentation, so that way the entire district can get it as well. But at the same time, or if there's anything we can give out to the district, so that way people, kind of have some preliminary information, so people can come with suggestions or concerns in hand by the time they actually get to the meeting. So that's where we are with that. And so as the chair of the board, I'm going to be actually representing the board at those meetings along with the district manager. So if there's any concerns, please feel free to send those to me directly, and I'll be able to address those. But definitely want that first outreach to happen. We want to make sure that we are specifically reaching out to the residents of the district. Okay, are there any questions with respect to that?
Would you be inviting the local electeds as well? Because I know Rita Joseph has been very outspoken about support for a bold redesign. Granted, no specifics yet, so I know she's been very outspoken. But I'm curious if you want, how much do you want it to be? I think in town hall is a great idea. But the framing of it, is it like electeds will speak and give their 2 cents, and then the Q&A, or I guess what format are you thinking?
I'm looking for it to be more community driven. So in terms of, I want to be able to introduce the topic to the district, so residents will get, at least that baseline presentation we got. But also in that same sense, to come with, how do you feel about it? Obviously, I think people have already started drawing lines, but I want us to keep a little bit more of an open mind in terms of getting really what kind of the sentiment is in the district. So I want that to be, resident district driven first. Obviously, we're going to invite the electeds to come, so they can hear it for themselves as well in terms of what the pain points are. But it'll be a continuing conversation where, I'm sure we'll create opportunities for them to come speak and give their perspectives as well. And they'll be welcome to give their perspectives, but I definitely would like it to be community driven. So that date, hopefully, we're gonna have confirmed very shortly. So the minute we, we're able to get the logistics down with the district office, we'll make sure we let the transportation committee know. And we're gonna formulate all that and hopefully we'll have that date set for January. I wanna say it was towards the end of the month, somewhere like around the 30th, 31st, or something like that. It'll be towards the tail end after the board has its general meeting. There's a little bit of a time frame where it's like there's no other board business happening, and we felt that would probably be the best time to do it around then. So we'll confirm.
Do you have a venue in mind for it?
That is, and that's part of the conversation in terms of seeing how that's going to get done. It depends on if the emergency order is still extended, what numbers still look like in terms of effect.
Oh, true.
People still getting sick because it is January, so we want to be cognizant of that. So some of those were, some of that was still kind of looking at the tea list to see where things are falling.
I was to that. I was just going to say, I forgot about the executive order, but if it is in person, it might be interesting to try to find like Brooklyn Commons or some space that's along Flatbush Avenue on the B41 route. So like quite literally, people will be coming in having just walked on Flatbush because, so often we have one memory of a thing without seeing it at another time. But if they just walked along or took the B41, it could not be fresher in their mind.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So actually, we can look at that too. So we'll see what it looks like. But yeah, like I said, some of that will be informed a little bit by what the conditions are looking like at the time. But and it doesn't have to be the only one we do. So I mean, we can look at future opportunities. I want to get out of being stuck on one side of the district as well. So if there's any opportunities a little bit further down, make it perfect sense. All right.
Fred, is the
oh yeah, sorry.
yeah, Fred, is the ability to do a hybrid meeting something that board has the wherewithal to do?
That's
in person and virtual
as well. Yeah, that's a conversation we have to have. Depending on where the venue is, depending on what kind of AV support they have. And those are the kinds of things, kinds of conversations we have to have. So I guess I didn't answer your question. We can look into that, but there's going to be a few things that have to get. I would probably hazard a guess to say right now, probably not. I don't think we have the equipment that we would need for that. But I don't want to speak on behalf of the district manager. He may be able to, if there's some magic he can work, or if he has access to resources, he might look.
Okay.
Or if anybody knows people who are great with AV, let us know. Community service, they're working for the district. You have a nice certificate of appreciation. Signed by Mia. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to now go on to item E, CV9 bike lane study. So this has definitely been a conversation that has been around for a while. So we want to make sure that we bring this up with DOT. So one of the things that we've done an initial contact with DOT. So part of what we wanted to do, January is probably going to be a busy month for us. One of the things I wanted them to do was to come in and actually have a conversation with the transportation committee in terms of the process of a study. Hopefully give us an idea in terms of, very similar to what they did with the bus lanes. What kind of toolkit do they have when it comes to bike lanes? So are we talking about protected lanes versus sharrows versus striped lanes? What are the benefits, pros, cons of all those things? Are there particular neighborhoods that certain things work better than others? Kind of get an idea of, are there any requirements in terms of, do they need streets of a certain size? But we wanted to make sure that they're able to do a comprehensive study, but we want DOT to kind of come in and inform us in that respect. And we can also give some ideas, and take that opportunity to give them some ideas in terms of the things that we would look for in terms of expanding the bike lane infrastructure in the district. So we're working to confirm that. So hopefully we'll have DOT representation for the January meeting. That's pretty much all I have for that. So that'll hopefully be solidified shortly. We've reached out. Any questions with respect to that?
I would hope that they can also have as up-to-date, I think as up-to-date information as possible. I think a lot of times there are hiccups where I think members of the committee have pointed out, like, and this might only apply to the bigger, multi-million-dollar capital projects, but they're showing us crash data, that's based on NYPD reports, DOT reports, and everything combined, and you do like standard data analysis, you do like 5-year blocking studies, but you can't do the most recent years and stuff. So like, there's, there's been so many changes in such a quick time that I think while it's useful for them to show us like everything in their toolkit, I think for me at least, it would be very important to know, I want to minimize the amount of time spent on just exploring options and not talk about the very recent things that are happening, because the more that they give us data on what CB9's, bicycle ridership was like in 2019, like I don't care, because now there's the Flatbush Avenue bike lane and the ridership has boomed since that went in. So you have more people coming in, it's like as up-to-date data on ridership, crash statistics, all those sort of things, I think for me at least would be most convincing in helping figure out where we ought to focus resources, rather than just like, oh, well, there were 5 crashes there, 4 years ago.
Yeah,
like things have changed a lot.
Points well taken, because I that has been a source of annoyance for me too. It shows things that happened 10 years ago. I'm like, no, what's going on now? What's on the ground? And along those lines, I mean, I would say that as we're preparing for that, and there's a lot of bicycle experts here. It's like, if there are thoughts automatically, that you already know of, these places are really conducive in terms of, if we get bike lanes in these things that, it expands the network and made reasonable. So definitely come in with those thoughts as well. But again, I just wanted to at least let them, tell us what are the considerations. We can share that with them before we tell them just go do a bike study. So that way they can come back with something that we would actually want, as opposed to they come back with something we hate because they never really considered, we never gave them what our priorities are, what we're looking for.
Is there a way that they can come back as well and let us know, similar to what Paco was talking about, but how things are actually going today with the installation of the bike racks, bike lanes, whether it's protected, unprotected? Do they have studies to show or data to show that the incidents have reduced, and how this has affected the traffic or incidents walking with the pedestrians or with the bikes? Or is there any fresh data to show that, hey, this has really improved things, or yeah, it's increased, or it's stayed the same, there's no difference? Just to show the progress of what they're doing as they're installing more and more different types of structures and positions of the cars. What's better? Is it the protected bike lane with the cement wall versus the protected bike lane that they have? Don't they have like with the cars sitting on a certain part of the street now versus the way it was before? So that we can see, what's the real best practices versus what's in the toolbox. Because I see that there's so many different things that are being installed, and I'm not sure how effective these things are to help all of the users of the street.
No, point well taken, I think. Yeah, what's really working? So it's like, you're putting these things in, is it really making a dent? So do you have less, accidents? And I think conversely too, it's like, what are the complaints? It's like, okay, well, if you've done this, what's the flip side of that, in terms of that as well? So I think that's something that would be good for them to speak to. These are all great ideas. And what I would ask is, if you have additional questions, please just send those over to the district office so we can compile that. So when we reach out to DLT, we can tell them these are the things we want them to be prepared to speak to. So I would ask if all the committee members can do that as well. But these are all great points that are being brought up. Okay. All right. Items F and G, I want to kind of take those together. And this is going back to a little bit of the theme I was saying in terms of, I want to kind of do things, because, in terms of the traffic calming, we talk, we have conversations, we've had them ad nauseum about speed humps, and we know the frustration going on with those. We're talking about cameras. We're talking about, there's a known raceways that are happening in the district, and we're saying we need to have cameras to, more better enforcement. We're talking about those trouble intersections where we want better markings in terms of, how do we make sure that, that the drivers really know where they're supposed to be? How do we make sure the pedestrians know where the safe places are? and all these things going along with the initiatives like Vision Zero, I think that what we want to do is see if there's a way that we can reframe the way we interact with DOT. Going again back to the example of, we usually look at one piece of it where we say, okay, there's a lot of cars speeding through, and we say, okay, put a speed hump. Speed humps tend to be very long in terms of the planning. They have to do a study, they have to do this, X, Y, Z. And at the end of the day, usually they just say either yes or no. And we probably get a lot more no's than yes in the district. But I think that, what should happen is if it's a no on the speed humps, then we should get a follow-on where it's, okay, well, we understand that there is a traffic or a speeding issue that the residents have made us aware of. What can we do with respect to that? Is it a matter of speed cameras might be something that are a little bit more of a deterrent in terms of they stop some of that behavior? And at that point, I run out of ideas, but hopefully, DOT, I think, as the experts who get paid for that, should be able to offer us something in terms of these are the tools that we can use to kind of address the safety issues in terms of, people being able to cross streets and not worry about being hit by cars at 60 miles an hour racing through the district. So I'm thinking of, part of what my thought pattern is, and I definitely appreciate any input as well, is that we take all those outstanding requests that we have as well as any new ones, and it's really more of a matter of, we frame it as these are the places that we've identified as these are issues. So, Ms. Robertson, I know you've been talking about Washington near Montgomery, that whole strip for a while. So what can you do there? Is it rumble strips? Is it, speed cameras? What is it that DOT can recommend that they can do? As opposed to telling us, no, we can't do this. Tell us what you can't do. And similar to different places along the corridor, Lefferts Boulevard, or Lefferts Avenue, and so on and so forth. I've talked for a minute. Let me open the floor. What are thoughts? What are thoughts with respect to that?
Well, I'm sorry, who's that, Ephraim? Is that Ephraim? No. Okay, what I was gonna say, can I,
Go ahead.
I'm
So
sorry.
Felicia and then Paco, then we'll take you out.
Okay, so we requested the speed camera and they put it on the other end. I didn't understand that. They put it on the end of Sullivan instead of where Montgomery, where we requested the cameras to be placed close by. I know that we can't get a strip because the bus is there. I, at one point, asked Tish James, and she says, no, if you want a bump, you would get the buses removed. So I says, oh, the bus has to stay because, we need that. Okay, so the camera or either some sort of, I know that we need demarcations to show that we are crossing, that's a crossway, so don't turn on us. I know we need possibly maybe some sort of light to indicate that that's a crosswalk. Allow us to cross, don't turn on us. Don't turn into the store, don't turn into the building. That's how fast they go. So that's why we thought the speed camera would do. But I don't know, someone in their infinite wisdom thought that it was best suited at Sullivan instead of close to Montgomery.
Yeah, and I think they need to have better accountability when they do those decisions. Because I've seen it too, where it's like sometimes these things just pop up in places, and you're like, I don't know who asked for it or why you put it there, or what did they see that said to put it there. But I mean, they need to be responsive to us. So it's like if you're saying you need a camera on Montgomery in Washington, they need to tell you, yes, we can, or we need to satisfy these conditions, or what it is they can do. Or if they can't, what are the options for any particular place we identify?
Correct.
Yeah, but they need to give us an answer. They need to say, how are you going to solve the problem? Over
So when
here,
you go
what are you going to
into-
do to solve the problem?
Absolutely right. So whenever you get into new business, Ephraim is here to expound even further on, I don't know if he's allowed to speak now, but he's here to expound further on what occurs on that corner.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, Ethan, if you want to speak, let me just get to Paco because he had his hand raised, and then if you have any, if you want to say anything, you can say it. Paco.
Well, what I was going to say is I think I like the framing that you're talking about, Fred, and very, I guess, bigger picture of where are the problems, what are the solutions, not just saying no. But what I find very frustrating, also very understandable, unfortunately, is that DOT can only do so much And a lot of times, whatever changes they do, that like they will say, well, it's up to enforcement. You know, like they can make changes on the street, but when cars are just not, or they can make minor changes on the street, and then cars can very easily disregard traffic signals or speed humps or speed camera. Like if they have a ghost plate and then, you know, the light will flash, but it's not actually sending a ticket to anybody. So a lot of it is also on NYPD. And I wonder how much of our conversations, you know, we primarily obviously talk about DOT, but how much transportation committee conversations that are truly about safety ought to be looping in the 71st precinct. And, you know, they are some of the solution and I've seen DOT kind of raise or throw their hands up in the air. It's like, we've done all that we can, barring like the cops have to do what they should be doing. But on the flip side of it, if we push DOT when we see really dangerous spots, like I think of like Parkside and Flatbush, where I know someone just was hit the other day. I don't know how seriously, but there used to be the plastic bollards in the middle of Flatbush right at Parkside, and they would get knocked over repeatedly. And, you know, it was just a game of every couple of weeks, they would get knocked down, DOT would come and install them. And then DOT just gave up. So there's nothing there. There's been nothing now for several months, even though they knew it was a problem and they had been trying to address it, and their solution has just failed. So they're like, and of course now someone got hit. So I think sometimes maybe it's on us also to, if we're really identifying problem spots, we need to be also pushing them to come with the real solution, which may be very big, drastic changes sometimes. But, you know, if the road, no one wants their car scratched. So like when it's a very narrow road, you slow down. So if it's a big road, maybe sometimes the solution has to be very narrow, or some, you know, things that may not be as simple as, oh, they just need a speed hump or a camera or something like that. So I think it's a slippery slope for DOT to say, like, we've done all we can, it's up to NYPD, and then NYPD may or may not do whatever they want. So then it also falls back to us of like, well, we'll just let the community complain. So if everyone is truly focused on safety, I feel like we all need to be really push the agencies, but also be accountable to the community and the people who are getting hurt, that, okay, we maybe need different, really robust solutions.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with everything you said. And you know, and maybe, you know, to that point, it's like, listen, apparently the plastic strips don't work there, and they probably need to go to more aggressive forms. So perhaps you need to put a red light camera there. Perhaps you need a speeding camera there. So when you see those things, you know, flash a few times, or when Waze all of a sudden tells you there's a speed light, you know, the speed camera there, then people will take it more seriously. You know, there's that whole other issue about the favorite plates, but that's something, you know. But I think that DOT at least needs to say, okay, we tried those strips, they don't work. These are the next 2 or 3 in terms of how it gets more aggressive. And it may, you know, I don't think it's gonna be bad we get to pick, but they need to tell us what the options are. But
Fred,
I think what
can
it's been is we ask them for this and they say, no, it's not gonna work. And, you know, they close the ticket because they answer the question. I'm like, no, you're not off the hook. What can you do? And if we need to bring other people, if we need to get NYPD in there, so it's a matter of, you know, you need an officer there at certain times of the day to clear the traffic because everybody's trying to go south, you know, trying to go west on Parkside or whatever it is. Okay, let's talk about that. And if we have to get bigger, let's do that. But we want to make sure they're addressing those things. All right, Jeff, let me see. Well, actually, Jeff, hold on 1 second. I did say Ethan. Ethan, did you want to speak right now?
Sure, yeah. So, you know, Felice had asked me to just, you know, she had reached out about it, and I sort of immediately said, like, oh, you know, this is an intersection that, you know, myself and really everyone at the Garden is very familiar with. So a lot of us, you know, cross that corner to go to the bodega, which is a sort of a popular lunch spot for folks who work at the Garden. And, you know, on any given day, that could be, you know, 150, 200 people, depending on the season. So, you know, there have actually been, there was one really serious incident back in 2016 where.
Well, Ethan, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Where one of our employees was, so there was an incident back in 2016 where one of our employees was actually hit by a car. and he broke his leg and ultimately had to retire. But really sadly, our work on this goes all the way back to the 1990s. At that time, we had some employees working out of a building on Montgomery. And so there was a big problem with folks going back and forth as well. I believe it was our past president, Judy Zook, who actually initiated a study to get a crosswalk, 30 years ago now, that was unsuccessful. And there have been a few different sort of iterations of traffic light requests, speed bump requests, and sort of most recently, we had a conversation with the borough commissioner of DOT. This was in 2021. And, again, expressing concerns. I mean, that was a point where cars were really just flying down, sort of during the height of the pandemic, during the shutdown. It was something that we saw. So we asked, we asked for either a speed bump, or they suggested that they thought they may be able to do one of those sort of like radar guns that tells you how fast you're going. But they said they had to do a study first. And then about 5 or 6 months later, we got the results back, and they just sort of said, we looked at it and it doesn't warrant any traffic control. So yeah, this is obviously something that we still see as a big issue. We'd love to get it addressed. And we're happy to work with the board and use whatever leverage we have to support the efforts here.
So much appreciated for that. If you have any correspondence or any data on that as well, everything you just shared, if you could send that to us as well. And this is, one of the things that we want to bring up with the council member as well, because I believe that's in Council Member Hudson's in district.
Yes.
But and sometimes I believe that there are sometimes things have their time. They wouldn't do it 5 years ago. They wouldn't do it 2 years ago. But perhaps we might be able to get some traction with this at this time. So,
absolutely,
I'm not giving up on this, and this is something we need to definitely push. And again, they need to do something, because the situation that's going on there is not tenable. They're just waiting for something, enough bad things to happen. They just really wait for something terrible. Now, we need to be proactive. We got to stop that from happening. But Ethan, thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. All right, Mr. Brown, I'm sorry, I know I had cut you off. So I see Jeff, and then I see Valerie right after that.
Oh, no problem. So I'm going to backtrack to something I think Valerie said, definitely something that Felice said. We were talking about how long we have been on the committee, those of us who have tenure that goes back more than 5 years, 10 years, and the lack of change that we've asked for. One of my concerns is that I don't know that everybody is trying to raise their knowledge base to a point where when we have conversations with DOT, we're not being viewed as being qualified to challenge their suggestions. And that's a big problem, in my opinion. When you look at how DOT dismisses a lot of the things that not just this committee, but many transportation committees bring before them, much of it is because I don't think we've done our homework. And specifically, I might step on 1 or 2 toes here. I don't sense that there's a true understanding of the value of neck downs. Neck downs have been proposed for Washington Avenue in 2 locations. Up by the school, where they're planning to redo that slip lane in front of Clara Barton, and for the corner that Felice has been asking for something to be done. I don't agree with my fellow board members, committee members, that a neck down is not the correct solution to slow traffic. And I'm saying that not with any expertise in design of roads, but as a motorist, because I'm not sure that everybody here is a motorist. A neck down will absolutely slow traffic when they are making turns into any street. It creates a 90-degree turn that you cannot navigate at speed. The greatest example in our area is what they did at the corner of Flatbush, where Ocean meets Empire, where years ago, that was a right-hand turn. If you were headed south on Flatbush, you could make that turn at 30, 40 miles an hour. They put a neck down there, one of the biggest neck downs. It's so big, you don't realize that it's technically a neck down. You have to almost stop to make that right turn onto Ocean. The same thing would be true if they put a neck down at, Montgomery and Washington by the store. The same thing will be true when they do that up by Clara Barton. And the other thing I want to say is I hear a sense of speed cameras being a solution. I can't disagree with you more. I don't know if the members of this committee understand a speed camera generates a ticket to the registered owner of the vehicle. The person in that car that's doing 40 miles an hour up and down Washington Avenue, they don't get points on their license. It might not even be their car. The owner of the car gets a summons in the mail. And he probably will call the person, hey, were you driving my car? Here's a ticket, $65, $100. It does not save lives. It does nothing. Red light cameras are the same. If they were putting points on the license of the driver, maybe. But I think that's a passive way of dealing with a very urgent situation. I look at neck downs as a much more active, a much more aggressive way of tackling these issues, right? And then the last thing I want to say is circling back, I've said it at other meetings, I can't encourage the committee members more. Please seek out what other cities, what other states, what other countries are doing to tackle these issues, right? There's a fantastic article that was in the Times earlier this week. I wish we had a chat, I could drop a link into it, but it's talking about the difference between the traffic deaths in the United States versus what's going on around the world. And we are leading, right? Part of it is the infrastructure of roads in this country. They encourage speeding. So anything that slows traffic down is going to get us where we need to be. Okay.
Absolutely, thank you for those points.
Well said.
Ms. Fleming,
Um,
I see your hand.
hi, I want to talk about this for a minute and then circle back on something else. The studies, they have the studies and they say, oh, the studies doesn't show X, Y, and Z. Are they able to break the studies down to us to show what they're looking at so that we know what they really mean, that the study didn't show what? You know, to make a determination that whatever we asked for was needed. So if we can get a better understanding of how they're breaking it down, because they're just closing tickets. Because I'm finding that with a lot of things that I'm doing, the branches hanging off the tree, I put a little thing in there for them to come to try to remove the branch or cut the branch on the tree. And the next thing I know, the ticket is damn closed. And it's like, well, wait a minute now, the limit's still hanging. How is the ticket closed? So since they're, you know, using the study, and I guess that would help them to better assess the need for whatever we're asking for. If they deny us, maybe they can give us, you know, the results. What is it that they were looking at this particular location that was different from another location that was approved for a speed bump? Or, you know, why was this one really denied? And what am I going to say? And also, I just wanted to circle back. And I wanted to say that Ethan, what he said was good, you know, with regard to, and then further reinforce what I was saying. Years and years and years, we're asking for stuff. And, you know, and he has data, because going back for quite some time where they've been asking for stuff at the garden and it's still not happening. So that shows me a lack of really will that they're going to do it. But what I wanted to say when I had my hand raised before, circling back to that Grand Army Plaza project, I'm encouraging all my transportation committee folk to, or even CB9 folk, to get on those calls, because it was quite interesting the way they laid it out, the 4 different designs that they came up with. And even though it might not be in our jurisdiction, it's going to impact the way the flow of the stuff happens as it comes across Eastern Parkway and goes down towards Empire Boulevard. certain things. So I think it's very important that we go to these meetings, because I think some of the things that they're considering, you know, some of the people are really strongly pushing maybe no traffic over there, no cars, you know, in that particular area. And not to say that pedestrian friendly isn't good, but you know, are we looking at something that Jeff is saying, you know, worldwide views of how traffic flows versus how we're so stuck in this box, how we do it right here, that we're not thinking in a different direction. Because I know in Jersey, I noticed that they have a lot of circles, or maybe they're called roundabouts, where you don't make certain turns. You can't really make
Oh, the
what
jug
is it, a
handles,
left turn
jug
or a
handles,
right turn. I think it's a left
jug
turn. You
handles.
can't make
Yeah.
left turn. You can go right because it's the circle and different things. And even in Long Island, there's some places. So we gotta look at different ways of how we move the traffic, because it's gonna be a mess up there at Grand Army Plaza if they cut off or do what they're talking about. So that's all I want to say.
No, thank you for that. And you know, and just to some of the points made, I mean, and I think it's very important that in terms of, that's part of the reason why I even suggested before we tell them to go off and do a study, tell us what the options are. I was like, oh yeah, well, we need to do a study. And those are the questions we can ask as a committee. What are you studying exactly? You know, because they may say the speeds don't warrant it. Well, what speeds warrant this? Because what we're saying is, you know, you can still kill somebody doing 20 miles an hour. So just because they didn't hit 30 or 35 doesn't mean you're not going to hurt somebody. I think what we're saying is, as the people who live in the district, we see that there are dangerous situations that, you know what, your sensor may not pick it up, but we live it. And these are the problems that have happened, and people are putting their lives on the line every time they go past certain intersections. So, and, you know, and really, I just wanted to start it in this way in terms of, yeah, I think, you know, we really want to look at the way we're asking for these things, make sure that it's not a matter of, okay, we've asked you for this, they go off to another room, twiddle their fingers, and come back and say, yes, we did a study and there's nothing we can do about it. It needs to be a more dynamic conversation. What can you do? What things are you going to look at? And come back to us with a suite of options. What can we do to take care of this? And you know, and you know, I think we recognize it's not a one size fits all. Net downs may be great in certain situations and may not necessarily be as great in others. Speed cameras may be the trick in other situations. And to Mr. Brown's point, yeah, sometimes people just eat those. It's the cost of doing business. I'll keep going on my merry way. My uncle will pay the bill when he gets it. But yeah, but we want to definitely make sure that we're looking at these things and able to track these things. And again, I think that the one thing that we're starting to do a little bit better is we're getting partners in this as well. So I'm really looking forward to you know, I think it was a very positive response we got from Councilmember Joseph's office. That's phenomenal. We've had a very good working relationship with Councilmember Hudson as well. So I want to bring her into this fight as well for some of these issues in terms of, let's get this done. And really, it's past the point. No was not an answer. No is not an answer. What are you going to do? You got to do something. These are lives that every time, you know, and we see it, the traffic gets worse, the road rage, the cars are faster, and they really, you know, going down the street through reckless abandon. You got to do something.
Correct. And the more I asked the question, I said, I've been living here. My parents has been here since 1970 in this area. So imagine, I've seen the changes that has taken place, and I thought the improvements was great. But to do what? Now you want to do what? Because you see, the more you do, the more obstruction becomes intense. And I find that drivers, you know, they want to get to their destination by any means necessary, and they will speed real fast just to get over to that next block. Okay. So when they congest, when they narrow these roads down or close off the streets, for what? Why? And I had to say to them in the meeting, I says, listen, I've been living here like practically all my life. I said, so you're coming in my house to tell me what you're going to do to me in my own house. And I've already said to you, enough is enough. They heard me.
Right.
I'm sorry, folks. This is Val Fleming, but I got to jump off. I got a next meeting. So I know you're going to hold it down for me. Okay, thank you. Bye.
I'll talk to you later, Val.
No worries,
All right.
All right. We don't specifically have action items for this month. So, but what I did want to do is, I think we've gone through the committee updates. Is there any, I think in terms of old business, so I think there was one of them, the motion. Oh, there was a motion from last month. I did want to address that. So we didn't get to talk about that at exec or at the board meeting. but I'm not sure if I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. So Dante and I are reaching out to DDC to find out specifically about that intersection, about painting, striping, or what options they have for that. So that's a direct communication. So we're trying to set up a meeting that we're hopefully going to have within the next couple of weeks. So hopefully by next month, I should be able to report back in terms of what are they doing with respect to that. So that'll be myself.
Are you talking about the
Dante.
motion? You just said painting the stripes, but that was the Lefferts Avenue. The motion was about ensuring that the DDC project at the bottom of the gas station doesn't get become a parking lot again.
Yeah, no, but we're speaking, yeah, that intersection, that's what we're talking about. So we're gonna have that meeting with them about that specific. So with that is on there. Also to provide an update to the committee, I'm not sure if people have seen the notices. So Empire Boulevard, there's, that construction was scheduled to end at the end of this year. There's some additional work they actually need to do because I think in one of the locations they discovered a sinkhole. So construction is going to continue there for another few months. I believe that's supposed to continue until about June of next year. But we're also talking about striping, what they're doing with that. So, we're trying to get plans with respect to that. So we'll provide an update as soon as we get that for them as well. Also, just to give a sense of some of the other things. So again, we're going to try and get DOT to come talk specifically about the bike studies. City Bike, they are doing the expansion. I believe that expansion is supposed to be scheduled to happen in the first quarter of 23. I think Dante just got the information. There is, I think when they first did the rollout, it came up to the northwestern section of the district. They are going to be putting a number of additional locations that are going to be spread throughout the south, going east and south as well. So I will ask Dante if he hasn't done that as well already to send that out so that everybody has that. Additionally, we wanted to get City Bike in to talk a little bit about the expansion. If there are any questions we had about that, so we were trying to see if we can get a representative from City Bike. I think there are other issues in terms of, I think they're changing the inventory, so I think they're going from the blue to the gray bikes. What does that mean? How is the rollout going? How are they picking locations? And if we have any issues with any of the locations, once you get the bike, the map, you'll hopefully be able to kind of give feedback with respect to that. Additionally, we're going to have a couple of things coming up for votes in the next couple of months or so. There is a TLC application that's going to be coming before transportation. So they need a renewal. I think we renewed them about 2 years ago. So we're trying to get the data from them in terms of, NYPD, are there any complaints from them? DEP, see if there are any issues with that. TLC, see if there are any issues with the operator as well. So we're going to get that information, get that before the board. So that's either going to be in January or February. We may hear that depending on scheduling. So we discussed Empire Boulevard, Lincoln Road. Also, we have a street co-naming that is going to be coming before us as well. So the information is being gathered with respect to that, and there's a street co-naming that's projected to happen on Utica Avenue. So we'll be getting that information onto the board. We'll have that as a voting item next couple of months. I think that's most of. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Two things. One small one, just to add to the discussion of the what do we call that intersection? Washington and Lincoln, or I guess it's Flatbush and Lincoln. They just planted an enormous amount of concrete. Maybe we can try to get them to plant some trees there. That would solve the problem also. You can't park where there are trees, although they do try. They basically park in the tree pits. Yeah. The other thing, this is what I wrote to you about a while ago. The Ocean Avenue reconstruction and bike lane that's going on the curb, I believe is in final design, and we haven't seen it. I know it's a kind of a joint DOT Parks project. I think Parks is managing it, so I'm not sure if they both would need to come to give us an update or if it's just one of them. I've asked for it. I'm on the Prospect Park Community Committee. I've asked for it there and have had no success, so maybe we can get them to come. I think they're almost at contract stage, so they're deep into it.
Yeah. So we'll probably reach out to Diana. So we'll let her know there's several things that we're probably going to need before
Great.
back from DOT on. So we'll ask her to give a report on that as well.
Cool.
All right, I think those were most of the big items that I had. Is there any old business that we still need to consider for the board, for the committee?
For the discussion about Montgomery and Washington, I just wanted to point out, and maybe I'll email pictures or something, but I'm curious if those who have already advocated for improvements there have ever noticed there's a treatment, I don't know the name of the treatment, but essentially at these like T intersections that DOT has started to do quite a bit more. Sometimes they will even do a crosswalk without a signal. You know, usually getting a crosswalk, you need a traffic signal in there. The one that comes to mind for me is Borum Place and Bergen Street in Cobble Hill. I know it took the community many years to do it, but they eventually did a crosswalk, and they have to add a lot more things. They add almost like a little gateway treatment, but it is similar to a neck down, as Jeff was describing. It's the physical changes, really, that's what deters slows the driver, and you can't make the turn in the same way. But
I've almost been hit there many times.
What, at the
that
Bergen Street
intersection.
one?
Yeah.
Before or after the treatment? Because I've seen some improvements, at least with those treatments. But
When did they do the treatment?
I haven't been over there in a long time, but it's maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Okay, this year.
Either way, I'll send. Oh, sorry. I'll send out some images. I've also seen it on McDonald Avenue by Greenwood Cemetery, but it's kind of like it's different consideration when you have one long stretch, which we have in the Botanic Garden, that you don't have to contend with cross traffic in all ways. So I think, you know, I see the benefits of a neck down too, as Jeff said, but I also see other things that might have similar, you know, safety enhancements. So I would hope.
Just a spitball. I mean, even if you put rumble strips going down there, it's like, you know, it's like when your car's going every 5 minutes, you tend to slow down. Or, you know, every 50 feet or so. It's like, you know.
When you say go down there, go down where? Go down on Montgomery?
Washington.
Oh, no,
Well,
they won't
going down
allow
Washington.
that. No, I already spoke to Tish James, because we received about almost 3,000 signatures to get the 48 bus back online, because they stated that we didn't have enough ridership. Just to do another research to see that we had more than enough ridership. Now, as you see, we got buildings here now. Okay, so what we didn't have then, we have more of now. So to put and she said, if you want a bump there, you cannot have a bus. So we opt to keep the bus or to bring it back. All they needed was 1,000 signatures. Right. We got close to 3,000. Okay.
Well, not so much bumps. I'm saying more like, you know, you see them like in different places where they put the rumble strips, where they cut up the pavement a little bit, so that way when your car goes over it, it rumbles.
Right.
So
I understand
the idea being, yeah. So when you're going a certain speed, it's like maybe that's the deterrent. I don't think, you know, the buses, because they're not going that fast, I don't think it would do it. Or for vehicles that aren't going that fast, it's not so bad. It gets annoying, or at least, you know, becomes more of a deterrent if you're trying to do 30 miles, 35 miles on that strip.
Right.
But again, I'm just spitballing, so it's like, you know.
No, I appreciate all your thoughts. I appreciate everyone. I like what Jeff said, and as I stated, we're trying to get the speed camera. That's a deterrent in itself, okay? Because we're not trying to create more congestion. We're not trying to eliminate parking spaces. That's another fight. We just want the cars to slow down. And I work for the city, so yes, we want to generate money too. Thank you.
Isn't there a cap on the number of cameras? And aren't we at it? So we need more legislation in Albany. I'm not sure about the difference between speed cameras and red light cameras.
There is a cap
all
on
from
both.
the state, right?
There is a cap?
There's a cap on both. Yeah, and they also have to be within certain distance, I think quarter mile of a school, which I think you would have.
The Washington would be okay.
Yeah, I think you'd have that, but there's a cap on them.
I think one of the other issues that we
all they have to do is move the camera up.
Right.
I've wanted to build a fake one and put it up there.
You know,
Just the box.
DOT, I think at one point was saying, I think they were saying that, that might have been something that we would need to talk to the council member as well in terms of if we want to pay for it to get up there. So again, I think that might be an opportunity to re-engage with, the council member from the 35th to say, listen, this is something we need as a priority in terms of whatever you're going to do, let's get this going so we can get that up there. Or if she needs to write the letter, or she needs to talk to the commissioner in terms of, yeah, listen, let's make this a priority and get that there. But we're going to have these conversations.
Did we ever inquire if they could even put a stop sign or a flashing red at the corner of Washington and Montgomery? Were they ever asked that?
I want to say at some point they were. Where the conversation went, I don't know. We've asked for several things. We've asked them to just do something. I can't remember what the answers were. I think one answer was we didn't have money. One answer was you can't put a crosswalk there. There have been a number of things. So instead of them telling us what they can't do, they need to tell us what they can do. What can you do? What can you put there to make sure you take care of the situation? People will get paid a decent amount of money to figure, they're supposed to be the experts for these. So you give us the options. What would work over here? If it's neck downs, if it's speed cameras, what are the trade-offs? What do we need to do? But, we need to address it. It has to get done, and let's get it done. All right then. So, is there any new business that we need to consider?
Yeah, I'd like to
Jeff first.
bring something to the attention of the board. On my block, over the last 7 days, we've had installed, I'd say a 1 foot square sign that is been placed on almost every street light and even the parking signs for a private company that is offering an app that will facilitate parking, right? And I'm trying to pull it up. Okay, yeah, I just pulled it up. So
I saw this in Gowanus too, Jeff.
You saw it. Okay. So reading the sign, it says, create your own street parking network with your neighbors. Street parking community app free. It's available on the Apple App Store and it's available on the Google Play Store. And then it just says park car, leaving within 30 minutes, open space. This is the type of thing that the app will provide. So I logged on to the Apple App Store, and what the reviews shared were pretty shocking. First and foremost, it's illegal for any company to be advertising on public property, such as a street sign, a lamp post, or anything of that type. So that's the first problem. This is going on now in 4 boroughs. Even the Department of Sanitation left a review that was saying how much of a drain this is on public resources to take these signs down, right? And they came short of asking people to take the signs down. But to get to the quality of the service, the reviews that critiqued what they're offering were terrible. One person said he downloaded it, found 1 parking space in all of Brooklyn. Now, the fact that this is a free app should cause you to wonder, how are they doing it? And the simple answer is it's what's considered data mining. So you download this app, you probably are asked to provide a certain amount of information, which they're providing to third parties. So I wanted to bring it to the attention of this committee. It's certainly something that's right within what we address. If you haven't seen it, I don't know if there's a way I could share it, but I could text this to, I have just about everybody's number here. I'll definitely send it to you, Fred. And it's something that everybody on this committee should be aware of, what the sign looks like, and we'll see what's going to happen next. I'm not telling you guys to go out and rip them down, but
Well, send it to me. I want to
we
rip them
will.
apart.
Okay.
Glad I know Felice is going, yeah, send it to me, I'll take care. No, but thank you very much for that one. along those lines as well, one of the conversations I've had is transportation related, but also with public safety. One of the things we're doing is, and I think I saw something, Paco, you might appreciate this, I think you and Calista are working with this, I don't remember. Ghost cars, abandoned cars, things of that nature in the district. So we've had a conversation with the 71st Precinct. Very interesting in terms of the programs that they have for dealing with those things. So between NYPD and sanitation, they're responsible for taking care of those things. So if it's an abandoned vehicle, if it's just somebody left a Hulk on the street, DSNY will take care of that. If you see cars with plates that are without plates that are just on the street, not moving or doing anything, best bet is to please let the district office know, because what we're trying to do is compile that information and create a list that we can share with the community liaison, so that way they can figure out how they get that into what they call the ROTO program. That's rotational towing program. So they have vendors that are that the city contracts with to come and get these things. It's definitely been, since the pandemic, is probably, started in the pandemic and getting worse with that, where you just see a lot of people are flaunting the rules. They figure, listen, I can leave my car there, free street parking if I take the plates off. Or the other thing is, all of a sudden you see these expired plates from out of state Pennsylvania that expired in 2020, 2021, and they just leave the cars there. And to the points that were made before, those are the plates they use to blow all these cameras and everything like that. So don't be like me and don't go up on the cars. But if you do see these things, please, let us know, so that way we can share that information with NYPD, the 71st Precinct, and we can see what they can do about addressing those issues. It just improves the quality of life, and listen, it helps with the street cleanliness, because especially a lot of these cars are the ones that stay there, they don't move, and then on the back end, we have fights with DOT and sanitation saying, why can't we reduce street parking or alternate side? So because the streets are dirty, and that's part of what contributes to that. But I just wanted to make that announcement for the transportation committee, that if you do see those and spread the word, let the board office know. And let me just.
Do you want me to let you know now? Do you want me to let you know now? Because there is a car that has.
I know which one you're going to talk about. Okay. I already know.
Fred?
That is already on our list.
Okay, very good.
Already on our list. Yes.
Fred, have you also had a conversation with them about placard abuse?
Not so much placard abuse. I know that they crack down on that.
Okay, so
yeah, I know they try and crack down, but
the places I'm thinking about are Lincoln between Flatbush and Ocean, and Flatbush between Lincoln and Empire. There must be 15 or 20 every day, and they're just taking up metered spaces or illegal parking spaces. Sometimes there's a vest, sometimes there's a little toy. I call them in and nothing ever happens, but it's been going on for at least 10 years, probably 50 years.
All right. Send your anonymous
tip to
the board office. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Send your anonymous tip to the board office, and we can see what we can.
I don't need to be anonymous. It's too late for that.
All right. Mr. Almanor, I see you, and then Paco, we're going to take yours, and then we're probably going to close on that then. Yes.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I see it.
Okay, you're welcome.
Still there?
Me? Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to echo what Jess was saying. I started to see those signs 2 days ago. I think there's one right outside my house. And then one of the problems I think we're having is the fact that the mechanical boom can get to clean the street. And I think that kind of will contribute to that, because people don't move their cars. So I'll take a picture of them also and find out what's going on with it.
Yeah, and send them in, because I think we're starting a little list of these things. NYPD is very well aware, and we're trying to work to see what we can do to address those things. No, but thank you for that, Mr. Almanor. Paco.
For just kind of throwing out an idea for new business, I mean, you already outlined a lot of things for us to tackle in the new year, but something I'd like just to put on everyone's radar now is for the summer, which feels so far away, but I feel like we only talk about Smorgasburg and the crowds that come to Prospect Park via Lincoln Road. We talk about it during the summer and after the summer. I don't, knock on wood, I don't know of any serious injuries that have happened there, but excuse me, I do know the sidewalks are not big enough for the 20, 30,000 people that are coming to the park via that street. And I'm curious if I guess in our conversations with DOT about intersections and stuff, we can pinpoint some of that, but also just bigger picture. I think it was maybe, I forgot when, maybe a decade ago when Lincoln Road configuration changed a little bit. I feel like it might be time to revisit Lincoln Road itself right there between Flatbush and Ocean, knowing that, you know, in the blink of an eye, we're going to have tens of thousands of people coming adjacent to our neighborhood and in our neighborhood as well. It's just something that I feel like we complain about after the fact, and I wonder if there's a way for us to be proactive, maybe even have conversations with the organizers from Smorgasburg.
Sorry, Paco.
Yeah, you may know more about it too.
Prospect Park Alliance Director, Morgan Monaco, and I'm sure that we could talk with her about it too. Because they're the ones that get the money from Smorgasburg. So I feel like they need to be a better neighbor. So we should definitely approach them about it.
Cool. Yeah, I think that would be useful. To me, that's one of the largest. It's just a bottleneck of humans. You know, it's great to have people in the neighborhood, and it's great for all the businesses on Lincoln and stuff. But then when they're filtering out or coming in, it's just it's hard to cross the street, and then it's because it's
trash
hard, and there's trash, but then it's also
the bus
hard
stop is filled with cars all the time. It's
right.
chaos every Sunday.
And then the cars themselves,
they've been here for years. So let's find solutions to critique, because they've been here for years. And it's been a great thing. So let's find ways of cleaning up the street. Let's find ways of what did you say, proactive? Bring it to this table so we can find a way collectively to find a solution for us to all live cohesively, you know, that we're happy with, right? Because they've been here for years.
Yeah, and to your point, now's the time to start that conversation where it's like, listen, you know, we understand it's coming. We just want to make sure we're prepared with that. If there's anything we need to do from the board perspective of, do we need to have conversations with NYPD, sanitation? Do we need to make sure there's people there, you know, watching the cars there so that way they're not jamming everything, so that way Ocean doesn't get blocked up for 17 miles and everything like that. But yeah, no, that's a fair question where we probably should start that earlier. I think typically, usually the only touch point we have at Smorgasburg is, I think they apply for liquor licenses at some point.
It starts right after the ice skating rink closes.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll be seeing them very shortly. But we don't have to wait.
And in tandem, like with Smorgasburg for the pedestrian traffic there, but on Lincoln Road itself, I know from the bus redesign conversation I was at, they were talking about the hub of Lincoln where all the buses turn around, and that also causes problems for the Smorgasburg crowds, and the Smorgasburg crowds cause problems for the buses trying to do a turnaround. And as they redesign, they may even be adding another bus. The B10, I think, was the new bus that would also be coming there. So it's great to have all these people there. It's great to have that transportation hub of the subway and the buses, but I feel like they're both getting bigger, and they're coming into more conflict. So it may be just a larger conversation with all these stakeholders about Lincoln Road. How do we all, you know, like Felice was saying, how do we all use it and keep it working without everyone just being in conflict there?
No, so definitely something we'll keep a note on. Yeah, Mia, if we can bring this up to Dante, we can talk about that in terms of how we can engage with those organizers. We'll take that one up.
Great.
All right, I think we have that. So we'll be sending updates. So, you know, I know there's a lot of stuff that's in flight. So you'll be receiving, just keep, you know, you'll be seeing a lot of stuff coming to your mailboxes about things that are going on. But listen, first, you know, I just want to thank everyone for all the hard work you guys do. This is a team that's been together for a minute. And, you know, I just have nothing but respect and gratitude for all the work and expertise you bring in. Happy to be a part of this year. And we've got a lot of work to do. A lot of things, you know, that we want to just finally start tying bows on things. Conversation, time to talk has happened. We want DOT, we want all these things to start, get action done. So I absolutely hear that, and we're going to move to make sure that that happens. So listen, so with that, seeing nothing else, we've completed our agenda. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Happily
Felice
second.
Robertson make them. Okay.
Okay. By
Second.
Felice. Seconded
Second.
by,
Mhm.
okay, I'll pick a name for a second. All right, any objections? Anything else we need to do?
No.
No
No,
objections.
No.
We stand adjourned. Everyone have a happy holiday. The time
Have a
is
great
8:40
holiday.
p.m.
Happy
Happy
holidays,
holidays.
everyone. Stay safe,
Bye,
stay
everyone.
Happy
well,
holidays. Take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
and wear your
Bye.
mask. Stay well.
Hey,
Yeah.
wear your mask. Happy
Yeah.
holidays, everyone.
Happy holiday.
See you next meeting.